The Soul of an Octopus, A Surprising Exploration into the Wonder of Consciousness by Sy Montgomery. Picture this. You plunge your arms into water so cold it nearly stops your heart. A bracing 47 degrees. Then something alive, twisting, and wonderfully strange rises up to greet you. Dozens, maybe hundreds of soft, curious suckers wrap around your hands and forearms. It's an embrace you've never felt before. Gentle, yet insistent, like receiving a kiss from another world. You look up, and an eye meets yours. That pupil looks like a fat hyphen floating in a pearly sphere, holding an expression both serene and impossibly ancient. You expect something tough, maybe reptilian, but your fingers meet skin softer than custard, silky smooth, speckled with ruby and silver, like starlight reflected on a dark wine sea. This isn't some far-fetched science fiction tale. This actually happened to naturalist Sy Montgomery when she met Athena, a giant Pacific octopus, at the New England Aquarium. That first encounter kicked off a journey that would flip everything she thought she knew about intelligence, consciousness, and the surprising connections that bind all life together across vast stretches of evolutionary time. Welcome, friend, to today's exploration. We're diving deep into Sy Montgomery's remarkable book, The Soul of an Octopus, A Surprising Exploration into the Wonder of Consciousness. This isn't just another animal book about an 8-armed sea creature. It's a profound meditation on the nature of mind itself, wrapped up in a series of deeply personal encounters. The book became a National Book Award finalist, touching millions with its blend of scientific curiosity and heartfelt wonder. Sy Montgomery is a naturalist in the old tradition. Someone who seeks understanding not just through data and spreadsheets, but through direct experience, empathy, and patient observation. She's traveled the world meeting tigers, pink dolphins, and tree kangaroos, but it was here, in the dim, moist sanctuary of an aquarium, face to face with a creature that seemed utterly alien, that she found one of her deepest connections. Today I want to share that journey with you. We'll explore the surprisingly individual personalities of these magnificent mollusks, witness their startling intelligence, and wrestle with the question that echoes through every page. What's it actually like to be an octopus? By the time we're done, I promise you'll look at the creatures around you, maybe even yourself, with fresh eyes and a deeper appreciation for the mysteries of consciousness that bloom in the most unexpected corners of our world. So let's return to that first meeting. Sy Montgomery walked into the aquarium knowing very little about octopuses. Like many of us, her mind probably held echoes of old sea legends, tales of krakens dragging ships into the depths, or Victor Hugo's terrifying devilfish, sucking the lifeblood from sailors. Western culture hasn't exactly been kind to the octopus, often casting it as a monster, large, ugly, and frightening. But what Sy actually encountered in Athena wasn't a monster at all. It was a being of surprising gentleness and profound curiosity. Here was an animal with venom like a snake, a beak like a parrot, and the ability to pour its boneless body through an opening the size of an orange. An animal that could change color and shape in less than a second, taste with its skin, and possessed a mind that evolved entirely separately from our own vertebrate lineage for over 500 million years. Think about that gap for a second. 500 million years. The evolutionary path that led to us, mammals, birds, reptiles, fish, split from the path that led to octopuses long before brains or complex eyes even existed. Octopuses are mollusks, more closely related to snails and clams than to us. Clams don't even have brains, yet octopuses possess this startling intelligence. How could this possibly be? Sy felt it immediately. As Athena's suckers explored her skin, it wasn't just touch, it was taste, an intimate knowing that went way beyond mere physical contact. Octopuses have chemoreceptors distributed across their bodies, especially concentrated in their suckers. Athena was quite possibly tasting Sy's very essence, the hormones, the chemistry beneath her skin, and as she did this, her dominant eye swiveled to meet Sy's gaze. There was recognition there, an interest as sharp as Sy's own. This is the heart of the mystery Sy sets out to explore. Can we truly connect with a mind so different? Can we bridge that half-billion-year gap? What's consciousness like when your brain wraps around your throat? You have 3 hearts, blue copper-based blood, and the majority of your neurons, 3/5 of them, reside not in your head but distributed throughout your 8 arms. Each arm, Sy realized, seemed almost like a separate creature, capable of independent action. If an arm gets severed, it can continue behaving purposefully for hours, perhaps even hunting, though sadly unable to pass the food back to the mouth it's no longer attached to. Imagine that, a distributed intelligence, a completely different way of being in the world. Athena's gentle suction grew more insistent, pulling Sy toward the tank. Sy felt a longing to go with her, to enter that alien world. But human bones and air-hungry lungs are constraints. The boneless, water-breathing octopus doesn't share. Aquarist Scott Dowd had to gently separate them, the suckers popping like small plungers releasing their grip. That first encounter left Sy reeling, changed. It wasn't just meeting an animal. It felt like touching an alternate reality, a different kind of consciousness. It sparked a profound quest to understand the octopus not just as a biological marvel, but as an individual mind, perhaps even a soul. One of the first things Sy learned is that octopuses aren't just intelligent, they're highly individual. Just like people or dogs, each octopus has a distinct personality. Athena earned her name from the Greek goddess of war because she was feisty and active. At the Seattle Aquarium, they named one Emily Dickinson because she was so shy she constantly hid. Another was Leisure Suit Larry, always reaching out with more arms the moment one was peeled off. And then there was Lucretia McEvil, who constantly dismantled everything in her tank. This individuality extends to their relationships with humans. Octopuses recognize individual people visually, even before touching or tasting them. In one fascinating study, octopuses were exposed to 2 people dressed identically. One person consistently fed them, while the other always poked them with a bristly stick. Within a week, most octopuses would eagerly approach the feeder and actively avoid, sometimes even squirt water at the person with the stick. They form bonds. Sy watched videos of Athena's predecessor, George, interacting with his keeper, Bill Murphy. George would float gently, tasting Bill with his suckers, while Bill petted and scratched his head. "I consider him to be a friend," Bill said simply. He compared petting George to petting a dog, adding, "He loves it." And just as they form friendships, they can also take dislikes. One octopus, at the Seattle Aquarium, consistently greeted a particular biologist with a blast of cold salt water from her funnel, targeting her, and only her, perhaps annoyed by the flashlight she carried. Another octopus, Truman, singled out a specific volunteer for this watery assault, even remembering her and soaking her instantly when she returned for a visit months later, after having squirted no one else in the meantime. This idea, Octopuses with thoughts, feelings, personalities, friendships, and grudges can be unsettling, even to scientists. For centuries, Western thought, heavily influenced by philosophers like René Descartes, held that only humans possessed true minds, relegating animals to the realm of unthinking machines. Even renowned researchers like Jane Goodall initially hesitated to publish observations of chimpanzee deception for fear of being accused of anthropomorphism, projecting human qualities onto animals, a cardinal sin in traditional animal science. But Sy, along with aquarists like Scott Dowd and Bill Murphy, found it impossible to deny the evidence before them. They saw intelligence and emotion not just in the octopus but throughout the aquarium. Scott recounted the tale of an octopus who figured out how to sneak out of her tank at night, travel 15 feet down the hall, raid a tank of flounder that were part of a study, and slip back home, only giving a guilty sideways look when finally caught. Tony Lacasse, the aquarium's public relations director, told of Bimini, a nurse shark who regurgitated an eel she'd attacked, when a diver wagged his finger and bopped her on the nose. Another shark seemed to bite fish not out of hunger but irritation, a dominance bite. Of course, the potential for misunderstanding is huge, especially across such a vast evolutionary divide. An octopus has 3 hearts, breathes water, tastes with its skin, and is covered in slime. As the philosopher Wittgenstein famously mused, if a lion could talk, we couldn't understand him. How much harder, then, to understand an octopus? Yet Sy argues the effort is worthwhile. These creatures aren't lesser beings, but, as naturalist Henry Beston wrote, other nations, caught with ourselves in the net of life and time. For Sy, Athena became more than just an octopus. She was an individual, a friend, and a portal to a new way of thinking about minds, both alien and familiar. The intelligence of the octopus isn't just anecdotal. It's observable in their incredible problem-solving skills and their apparent need for mental stimulation. A bored octopus is an octopus looking for trouble. Keepers learned this the hard way. Lucretia McEvil dismantled her tank. A small octopus in Santa Monica flooded offices by fiddling with a valve, causing thousands in damages. They're also legendary escape artists, veritable Houdinis of the invertebrate world. Stories abound. An octopus found crawling down aquarium stairs late at night, another slithering from a trawler deck into the cabin and hiding in a teapot, one making a determined, though ultimately fatal 100-foot crawl toward the sea from its tank. Perhaps most astonishingly, a red octopus at the Monterey Bay Aquarium escaped an exhibit it had hitchhiked into as a juvenile and grown up in, completely unknown to the staff, only revealing its existence when found exploring the floor near a different exhibit in the middle of the night. To prevent escapes and combat boredom, aquariums design intricate lids and devise enrichment activities. Some hide food inside Mr. Potato Head toys for the octopus to dismantle. Others offer Legos. One ingenious setup allows an octopus to create art by moving levers that release paint. They figure things out. An octopus named Sammy learned not only to unscrew a 2-part ball to get food, but also to screw it back together when finished. He also enjoyed unscrewing pieces of plastic gerbil tubing and handing them off to his brainless anemone tank mate. Enter Wilson Menashe, a brilliant engineer and inventor. He helped bring cubic zirconia to market, who volunteered at the New England Aquarium. Tasked with keeping the octopuses occupied, Wilson designed a series of 3 clear plexiglass puzzle boxes with increasingly complex latches. Box 1 had a simple sliding latch. Box 2 added a bracket catch. Box 3 featured 2 different latches, including one like an old canning jar. Octopuses learned to master these locks, sometimes opening all 4 in just 3 or 4 minutes once they got it. But here again, individuality shone through. Calm George opened the locks methodically. Impetuous Guinevere once got so excited by the crab inside that she cracked the second box with sheer force. And opportunistic Truman, faced with 2 fighting crabs in the smallest box, bypassed the locks altogether and poured his 7-foot body through the crack Guinevere had made, squeezing himself into the tiny space between the boxes. These weren't pre-programmed responses. They were individual strategies, choices made by thinking minds. Sy's relationship with Athena deepened with each visit. She met Bill Murphy, George's keeper, and Wilson Menashe, the puzzle box inventor. She saw how differently Athena interacted with Wilson, someone she knew and trusted. Instead of the insistent, exploratory suction Sy first felt, Athena greeted Wilson with a relaxed embrace, even flipping over, like a puppy, showing its belly. They seemed like an old married couple, holding hands tenderly. With Wilson present, Athena accepted Sy's touch more languidly, seemingly considering her an extension of her trusted friend. They entered what they called octopus time, moments where the usual constraints of clocks seemed to dissolve in the presence of this ancient fluid creature. Stroking Athena's soft head, feeling the gentle pulse of her suckers, Sy felt a profound connection, a sense of awe that expanded her perception of time. But the joy of discovery was tinged with the sorrow inherent in the octopus's life cycle. They live fast and die young. Giant Pacifics, among the longest lived, usually only survive 3 or 4 years. Bill shared stories of past octopuses, Guinevere, George, Truman. Each loss clearly felt deeply. He described the signs of aging, fading color, loss of appetite, white patches on the skin. Sy had only just begun to know Athena. On her 3rd visit, Athena seemed to recognize her, presenting herself upside down, clearly asking for food. Sy had the privilege of feeding her. As she stroked Athena's head, feeling the skin gather into soft bumps and ridges, she felt a profound sense of shared experience. Though their bodies were vastly different, the simple joy of a gentle touch, the pleasure of eating when hungry, these felt universal. Athena was happy, Sy realized. I was too. Just a week later, the news came. Athena was gone. Sy found herself weeping, surprised by the depth of her grief for a creature she'd known for less than 2 hours total. It wasn't just the loss of Athena herself, but the loss of the relationship that could have been, the connection just beginning to blossom. Athena had offered a glimpse into another kind of mind, raising the profound question posed by philosopher Thomas Nagel. What is it like to be a bat? Or, in this case, an octopus? Can we ever truly know the subjective experience of another being, especially one so alien? The tragedy was losing the chance to try. But the aquarium world moves on. Soon Scott Dowd emailed Sy. A young pup octopus was headed to Boston. The invitation was clear. Come shake hands ×8 when you can. Sy resolved to cross that chasm of 500 million years again, this time perhaps to make an octopus her friend. The new arrival was named Octavia. She was smaller, more delicate than Athena, and initially very shy. Unlike Athena, who had likely spent time behind the scenes acclimating to people, Octavia had come directly from the wild waters of British Columbia. She represented a different challenge, connecting with a mind shaped primarily by the ocean, not by human interaction. Sy brought her friend, the renowned author and anthropologist Elizabeth Marshall Thomas, to meet Octavia. Liz, a woman who had lived with Bushmen, studied lions and wolves, and remained unfazed by close encounters with hyenas and leopards, found Octavia's touch startling. A brief contact between Liz's finger and the tip of Octavia's arm resulted in both recoiling instantly. Sy speculated that Octavia's exquisitely sensitive suckers, perhaps 10,000 chemoreceptors on each one, might have tasted the nicotine from Liz's smoking habit, finding it repellent. Octavia remained aloof, often staying hidden. Her shyness highlighted the difference between wild-caught and aquarium-raised animals. Those who grow up around people often become more playful. Like puppies and kittens, Wilson observed, Octavia needed time. During one visit while Octavia remained hidden, Scott Dowd showed Sy another marvel, the electric eel exhibit. He had cleverly trained the eel to stay visible for the public by inventing a worm deployer that dropped food periodically. That morning, the eel was fast asleep. Yet suddenly, the voltmeter connected to the tank flashed, indicating an electrical discharge. The eel was still asleep. The stunning realization dawned. The eel was dreaming. Dreaming of hunting, stunning prey, its sleeping brain replaying the electrical patterns of its waking life. This moment underscored the theme permeating Sy's quest, the hidden inner lives of creatures we often dismiss. If eels dream, what other mysteries reside in minds unlike our own? We know rats dream of mazes they've run, their neurons firing in identical patterns during sleep. Even primitive platypuses experience vast amounts of REM sleep, the state associated with human dreaming. The inner world, it seems, isn't exclusive to humans. Eventually, Octavia began to emerge from her shell, quite literally. One day, Sy arrived to find Octavia interacting strongly with the tongs used for feeding. When Sy plunged her arms into the water, Octavia grabbed her hard, pulling with surprising strength. This wasn't the gentle exploration of Athena. It felt different, perhaps a dominance display, or something more mysterious. Sy had stubbed her toe racing to the tank, flooding her system with pain neurotransmitters. Could Octavia, with her incredible chemical sensitivity, have tasted Sy's pain? It was another startling glimpse into the octopus's alien sensory world. Working with octopuses, Sy learned, often meant encountering things that simply shouldn't be happening according to our usual understanding of the world. Students at a Middlebury College octopus lab described chasing small octopuses that ran across the floor on two arms. These small invertebrates displayed incredible strength, stubborn wills, and distinct personalities. Some were friendly, snuggling into a caress. Others were deliberately uncooperative, hiding, refusing capture, or using nets as trampolines to leap to the floor. One named Wendy seemed to anticipate a stressful presentation and deliberately soaked the student presenter before hiding. "There's nothing as peculiar as an octopus," concluded student Alexa Warburton. Octavia's wild upbringing also meant she possessed a skill her aquarium-raised predecessors lacked: masterful camouflage. Octopuses and their relatives, like cuttlefish, put chameleons to shame. They command dozens of patterns, changing color, texture, and even shape in less than a second. This isn't just reflex, it involves choice, assessment, and adjustment. Their skin is sometimes called electric skin. It has layers of specialized cells, white leucophores that passively reflect light, shimmering iridophores creating blues and greens, possibly controlled by neurotransmitters, and closest to the surface, chromatophores, tiny sacs of pigment, yellow, red, brown, black, surrounded by muscles that the octopus controls voluntarily, opening or closing them like tiny purses to reveal or hide color. They can create spots, stripes, bars, even moving patterns like the passing cloud display, used to startle hidden prey. They can raise fleshy papillae to become bumpy or smooth their skin completely. The mimic octopus takes this further, contorting its body to impersonate flatfish, sea snakes, or lionfish. How do they do this, especially given they possess only one type of visual pigment, making them technically colorblind? The startling possibility, supported by recent research, is that they might somehow see with their skin. Their skin contains gene sequences usually found only in the retina. It's another aspect of their profoundly different way of experiencing the world. During a visit for a radio show recording, Octavia surprised everyone. Shedding her shyness, she flowed eagerly toward Wilson, accepted food, and then, while interacting with multiple people, managed to stealthily steal the entire bucket of fish without anyone noticing. She wasn't even interested in eating the fish immediately. She seemed more fascinated by the bucket itself. It was a stunning display of multitasking, and perhaps outwitting her human observers. This encounter highlighted the sheer brain power involved. An octopus brain, while smaller than ours, perhaps walnut-sized in Octavia, containing around 300 million neurons compared to our 100 billion, is enormous for an invertebrate and structured completely differently, with up to 75 lobes compared to our 4. And remember, most neurons are in the arms. Their complex eyes, though lens-based like ours, evolved independently and have key differences. No blind spot, ability to see polarized light, panoramic vision. Assessing the mind of such a creature, as marine biologist James Wood suggested, requires humility, perhaps by octopus standards, like, how many color patterns can your severed arm produce in 1 second? We're the simple ones. Over time, Octavia did warm up, greeting Sy eagerly at the top of the tank. But one encounter stood out. Sy brought a high school student, Kelly, to meet Octavia. After tasting Kelly's hand, Octavia blasted her squarely in the face with a jet of water. Was it dislike? Maybe not. Sy learned that the volunteer Truman used to squirt wasn't disliked by him. They were friends. Perhaps it was play, like kids splashing in a pool. Researchers Jennifer Mather and Roland Anderson documented octopuses seemingly playing. Anderson observed octopuses in an experiment repeatedly squirting water jets at floating pill bottles, not forcefully, but in a controlled way that made the bottles spin around the tank or move back and forth. It fit all the criteria for play behavior, something previously thought limited to intelligent animals like birds, primates, and mammals. Maybe Octavia was just teasing Kelly, initiating her into the strange, wet world of octopus interaction. As Sy spent more time at the aquarium, she became part of the community that formed around the octopuses, a diverse group finding connection through shared wonder. There was Brendan from the IMAX Theater, Krista the aspiring aquarist working as a bartender, Marion Britt the anaconda tamer, and young Anna, finding solace and belonging behind the scenes. They gathered for cephaloparties around the temporary barrel housing the next young octopus, Kali. Kali arrived small and grew quickly, becoming strong, curious, and affectionate. Unlike Octavia, she seemed eager for interaction from the start. Her presence highlighted the question of octopus social lives. Most species are solitary, meeting only to mate, a risky encounter that can end in cannibalism. So why are they so intelligent? Jennifer Mather believes the loss of their ancestral shell was the driving force. Without armor, they needed mobility to hunt diverse prey, requiring complex strategies. But mobility also meant vulnerability, becoming a big packet of unprotected protein. This necessitated sophisticated defenses, camouflage, ink, jet propulsion, and intelligence, the ability to anticipate, plan, and deceive. Building dens, using tools like rocks or coconut shells for shelter, directing specific camouflage displays at particular predators or prey, all suggest a degree of theory of mind, the ability to understand that other beings have different perspectives and intentions. An octopus must constantly assess, does that fish believe I'm a rock? Does that crab know I'm hunting it? And adjust accordingly. In this constant negotiation with a world full of different minds, the octopus, Sy suggests, might be a cosmopolitan sophisticate compared to us humans, mostly interacting with just our own species. Kali seemed to thrive on interaction, exploring everyone with her suckers, looking into faces, accepting food gracefully. She even seemed to train her human friends, learning to squirt Wilson if he didn't offer food immediately upon opening her barrel. Yet her confinement in the small barrel, necessary due to aquarium logistics, began to weigh on everyone. She sometimes seemed subdued, less interactive. Meanwhile, Octavia entered the final phase of her life. She laid eggs, tens of thousands of them, woven into graceful chains hanging from the roof of her den. Though likely infertile, as she probably hadn't mated before capture, laying eggs represented the natural culmination of her life. Like Olive, the wild octopus observed by divers near Seattle, Octavia devoted herself entirely to her brood. She stopped interacting with keepers, focusing on cleaning the eggs, aerating them with jets from her funnel, guarding them fiercely. She even charged the large sunflower sea star when it ventured too close. This devotion is often fatal in the wild. Mothers starve themselves while guarding eggs, sometimes for months or even years. Octavia still accepted food occasionally, suggesting she might last longer. Watching her, Sy reflected on the ancient, powerful nature of maternal love, persisting across species and eons. Then came senescence. Octavia's eyes clouded and swelled. She seemed disoriented, sometimes wandering away from her eggs. Her skin thinned, grew pale. She stopped eating. Bill Murphy faced an agonizing choice: leave her on exhibit where she seemed increasingly distressed, or move her to the quiet confinement of the barrel, separating her from the eggs she had tended for so long. Around the same time, young Karma in the barrel showed alarming signs of distress, chewing persistently at the mesh lid, clearly trying to escape, just as Kali likely had. This forced Bill's hand. The difficult decision was made. Octavia would be moved. The transfer itself was tense. Octavia initially resisted, hiding, clinging strongly despite her age. But then, something remarkable happened. When Bill, finally entering the tank himself, gently touched her with his bare hand, something she hadn't felt in 10 months since laying her eggs, Octavia yielded, flowing into his net on the first try. She remembered him. She trusted him. Once in the quiet barrel, Octavia seemed calm, no longer searching for her eggs. Perhaps, Sy mused, freed from the instinctive drive to tend the infertile brood, she could finally rest. And this move allowed for one last profound connection. Sy, Wilson, Krista, and Brendan gathered around the barrel. Wilson offered squid. Octavia floated up, her good eye alert. She took the squid, then extended her arms, gently grasping Wilson's hand, then Sy's. Her grip was tender, familiar. "She knows you," Krista cried. "She remembers you, Wilson." For several minutes, she held them, tasting their skin, remembering. Wilson, in a gesture of profound trust, gently stroked her mouth, her beak, something he'd never done before. Octavia remained gentle, calm. She eventually sank, dropping the uneaten squid. Hunger wasn't her motivation. She had surfaced, weakened near the end, simply because she wanted to touch them again. It was a final, poignant confirmation of the bond they had shared. Less than 4 weeks later, Octavia died peacefully in her barrel. While these personal dramas unfolded, Sy also ventured into the octopus's world herself, learning to scuba dive. Her journey was full of challenges: leaky regulators, ear pain, vertigo, the disorienting weight of the gear, the shock of cold water. Yet the first time she successfully descended into the Caribbean Sea off Cozumel, she entered a world of psychedelic color and life. Breathing underwater felt like entering an altered state, the ocean's dream. And there, guided by dive master Francisco, she met her first wild octopus, peering from a hole in the coral. Night dives revealed more, fleeting glimpses of these nocturnal hunters emerging, flashing colors, exploring the reef under the beam of her flashlight. Later, on a research expedition to Moria, in French Polynesia, with Jennifer Mather and other scientists, the search was initially frustrating, but eventually they found their quarry, Octopus cyanea. One memorable encounter involved following a female who had lost parts of 3 arms to a predator. Despite her injury, she was bold, curious, watching her human followers, even reaching out to taste Sy's glove. For nearly half an hour, they swam together, a small mixed-species school, the octopus leading them on a tour, changing shape and color, flashing startling blue rings, ocelli, seemingly testing their reactions. It was, Sy felt, the best octopus encounter of her life. So what do we take away from Sy Montgomery's journey into the soul of an octopus? For me, the most powerful lesson is the profound realization that consciousness, intelligence, and even personality aren't exclusive human properties. They blossom in forms wildly different from our own, shaped by different evolutionary paths, different bodies, different worlds. The octopus challenges our assumptions at every turn. It's an invertebrate, a mollusk, yet it demonstrates problem-solving skills, playfulness, and individual recognition that rival those of many mammals and birds. Its distributed nervous system, its ability to taste with skin and possibly see with it, its mastery of camouflage, these aren't just biological curiosities. They hint at a fundamentally different way of experiencing reality, a consciousness we can barely imagine, yet one with which Sy shows we can still connect on a level of mutual curiosity, respect, and even affection. This book is a powerful antidote to the anthropocentrism that often narrows our view of the world. It reminds us that our planet is teeming with minds, with subjective experiences, with beings who navigate their lives with intention and feeling. Meeting Athena, Octavia, Kali, and Karma through Sy's eyes encourages a deeper empathy, not just for octopuses, but for all the other nations with whom we share this earth. It's an invitation to look closer, to wonder more, and to recognize the spark of awareness in unexpected places. The ocean covers most of our planet, yet remains largely alien to us land dwellers. The soul of an octopus serves as a bridge, bringing the wonder of that hidden world, and one of its most enigmatic inhabitants, into our hearts and minds. What can you do with this? Perhaps the next time you visit an aquarium, look beyond the glass, not just at a specimen but at an individual. Watch closely. Imagine the world from their perspective. Or simply take a moment today to consider the animals in your own life, or even the insects in your garden, and ponder the inner lives they might possess. Cultivating this sense of wonder and empathy is, I believe, the first step toward a richer understanding of life itself. That was our deep dive into The Soul of an Octopus by Sy Montgomery. We've touched on the highlights today, the surprising connections, the individual personalities, the profound questions about consciousness. But honestly, a summary like this is just dipping your toes in the water. The real magic happens when you immerse yourself in Sy's full narrative. It's in her detailed observations, her personal reflections, the way she weaves science and soul together. This summary is here to help you gauge if this journey is one you want to take. If the idea of connecting with an alien intelligence, understanding the nature of mind, or simply experiencing the profound wonder of the ocean resonates with you, then I truly encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning facts. It's an experience that might just change how you see the world and the incredible variety of minds within it. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this exploration valuable, if it sparked your curiosity or touched your heart, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to Billionaire's Bookshelf. We journey through transformative books like this regularly, and by subscribing, you ensure you won't miss our next adventure into the ideas that shape great minds. Let's continue learning and growing together. Thank you for listening,